Amin is in Denver, Stugotz.
Yep.
He is looking for the Jokic brothers. And
dangerous game.
And he was there last night doing the post-game show with Tom Haberstroh. If you want an excellent X's and O's breakdown, that's also fun, but will tell you a little bit better what it is that you're seeing out there. These are not untrained eyes. Amin, I would say, and Tom Haberstroh are doing a kind of coverage that is not what Spo hit Ramona Shelburne with yesterday. I want to play this sound for Amin real quick to get his thoughts on this. Everyone knows that Ramona Shelburne is deeply qualified, knows what she's watching, is an expert, but we are not as expert as Spo. No one is as expert as Spo, and he bared his teeth last night in a question from Ramona Shelburne.
Hey, Coach. Ramona Shelburne, ESPN. This is probably oversimplifying things, but sometimes when teams play against Jokic, you turn him into a scorer, you turn him into a passer, and he controls the game. He only had 4 assists tonight.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You know, it's just, that's the untrained eye that says something like that. This guy's an incredible player. You know, twice in 2 seasons, he's been the best player on this planet. You can't just say, oh, make him a scorer. That's not how they play. They have so many different actions that just get you compromised. We have to focus on what we do. You know, we try to do things the hard way, and he requires you to do many things the hard way. And he has our full respect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Amin, what are your thoughts there? You're smirking, you're laughing. What are your thoughts?
I thought Spo was just being combative. You know, whether you don't like the phrasing, the way the terminology that Ramona used, I think we all understood what she meant. And what she meant was in game 1, Dan, the Heat game plan was we're sending help to Jokic every single time. We're either doubling hard or we're shading someone over. And I was surprised that they came out with that strategy, and I was surprised that they lasted that long playing that strategy. They kept doing it, and he kept killing them every single time because much like the Miami Heat, Nikola Jokic doesn't make mistakes. He makes the right decision over and over and over again. It doesn't matter where you're sitting double from. It doesn't matter how unexpected it is. Oh, this time it's from the nail. This time it's from the baseline. He sees it all. He's 7 feet tall, and he sees it all. And so game 2, what we saw was a lot more single coverage, one-on-one coverage, no help on them. And especially when they went to that zone in the second half, we saw it doesn't matter who's on him. Gabe Vincent was on him one time. The idea here was like, if he scores, we'll live with that. He scored 41. They lived with it. But what happened was they made it a decision that we're going to smother everyone else, particularly Jamal Murray. We're not going to let him get off. So I don't think Ramona's question was out of line. It sounds like Spo is just bristling at turning someone into this. But come on, man, you knew what she meant.
You were saying after game 1 immediately, don't double him, and that doesn't work. And I would also say, don't do the zone against him. That doesn't work, because I would say don't do anything against him because nothing works.
What works is allowing him to score 40-plus points because the Nuggets are 0-3 when he does so.
If you play perfectly. And in the other 2 times it happened was Phoenix at home, Stugotz. It was Durant.
I was at that game.
It was Durant. What's the point of that? It was Durant.
No, I mean,
hit him.
It was Durant. Okay, you're at all the games. That's what you do as a job. We understand. You're going to be part of the post game here after every game because
that was a weird one. I was there.
We're paying you to do that. That's correct. You were there. That's correct.
I just meant in the sense that I was at that game. I remember him having that 50-point triple-double, and I remember walking away saying, wow, the Suns said none of you other guys are going to get off. We're going to make sure that if anybody beats us, it's going to be Jokic through sheer volume. And he tried. He almost did, but it's hard. That's not what they're used to doing.
It is really fun and ridiculous to see this ocean liner moving through the paint, and the ball is in his ass crack, and then it's rolling around on the rim, and no one can do anything, and Bam is stuck in his navel, and it's just watching a cement mixer, no turnover cement mixer, just rolling through the paint, and then flipping it up from an awkward angle, and it's absurd. All of it's absurd. That shouldn't lose. It should never lose.
Dan, I'm telling you, last night there was like a string of like 6 or 7 possessions in a row where I'm sitting there and I'm kind of doing a mini play-by-play, and Taylor's sitting next to me and other media members, and the Nuggets are going into two-man action between Jokic and Murray, and the Heat are guarding them. I think it was Bam and Caleb, and I'm saying, good switch, good recovery, good peel. And then he does that, and I say it as I know, as soon as Jokic touches the ball, the shot's going up, and it's going in, and he hits it every single time. He had an assist last night where, the Heat defended perfectly, and then they threw the ball to Jokic, and it was just a touch pass to cutting Michael Porter Jr., I believe, on the baseline. Yeah. I mean, when I tell you this dude offensively might be the most perfect basketball player I've ever seen, in the sense that he does it all and he makes the right decision every single time. I'm still staggered that the Heat not only won a game against this guy playing that well, but also they won it because Duncan Robinson was the nuts in the house. Duncan Robinson was the guy who was talking trash to the crowd and spurred this huge comeback and fueled this win. I'm beside myself.
I mean, if you're the Heat, do you come out with that same defensive philosophy in Game 3? And if you're the Nuggets, what do you do to fix it?
I think if you're the Heat, the smart thing is not to come out with the same thing again, right? Because you don't want to let Denver get acclimated and accustomed, even though they probably did. They've got a bunch of tape now. They're going to look at it. If you're Denver, the biggest thing has to be, how do we get Jamal Murray going? How do we give him freedom of motion? And most importantly, how do we get him and Jokic in a two-man game where he can get it going? Because that's got to be important for them. I think all those other guys, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, they kind of feast off of whatever actions that Jokic and Murray can create. Clearly, Jokic can do whatever he wants on the floor. How do we get Murray going if I'm the Denver Nuggets?
Let me play some sound for you of Michael Malone here, the Denver coach. Let's listen to this.
Why do you think your starters that weren't Joker struggled scoring, I guess?
Well, I don't think that's the biggest question. Now, let's talk about effort. I mean, this is NBA Finals, and we're talking about effort. That's a huge concern of mine. You know, and you guys probably thought I was just making up some storyline after Game 1 when I said we didn't play well. We didn't play well. And tonight, you know, that the starting lineup to start the game is 10-2 Miami. Start the third quarter, they scored 11 points in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And we just got, you know, we had guys out there that were just, whether feeling sorry for themselves for not making shots or thinking they can just turn it on or off. This is not the preseason. This is not the regular season. It's not round. This is the NBA Finals. And that, to me, is really, really perplexing, disappointing. And I asked the team, I asked our players, you guys tell me why we lost. And they knew the answer. Miami came in here and outworked us. And we were, by far, our least disciplined game of these 16 or 17 playoff games, whatever it is now. So many breakdowns. And they exploited every one of those breakdowns and scored. So if we're going to try to go down there and regain control of this series and get home court advantage back, we're going to have to outwork Miami, which we didn't do tonight, and our discipline is going to have to be off the charts.
I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, I think Coach Malone's right. Obviously, he says it with a little pizzazz because that's how he coaches. That's how he gets through to his guys. But he's right. They had a bunch of breakdowns. But the one thing I would say is, Coach, that happened in Game 1, too. The Heat had 16 wide open threes. They just didn't make them.
That was pizzazz.
We saw tonight. Well, I mean, like, just the idea, like, for the idea of saying, "Oh, we didn't play with effort." Like, that's headlines now. Every show is like, "Oh my God, Coach Malone criticizes effort." That's pizzazz, man. Because typically the way coaches speak are like, "Well, we just got to play a little harder. We got to pay attention to detail." They don't say the word effort. We didn't play with effort in the NBA Finals. That could be construed as a little bit on the embarrassing side. But the reality is he has that relationship with them, and he can coach them in that way. But also, again, I would say Coach Malone, you guys had the same breakdowns in Game 1. The big difference is they made the shots this time.
I mean, 30 seconds or less, please. Are you with me on the idea that the reason Malone didn't call timeout is because he doesn't want Spo to have time to set a half-court defense? And he's like, I'll trust Jamal Murray to see if he can get down there and get him to panic a little bit in a situation that isn't a set defense against our team.
No, that's it's not even a guess. He actually said that after the game. He said, we had so much problems with the Heat defense. We didn't want them set up coming out of a timeout. We had the ball in Jamal's hands, who we would want the ball in his hands anyway in those kind of situations. And he got a great look and he missed, and we live with that. So that's exactly the philosophy there, because he doesn't typically do that, Dan. I asked a bunch of Denver people who watch him all the time, Jenna Garcia. I said, is Malone like a guy who just lets them go? I was like, no, he usually calls a timeout in that situation.
Thank you, sir. We'll get back to you on the Jokic brothers.
Oh, yeah.